Hi guys, good afternoon and welcome back once again to the EdWord. I'm your host Eddie, and in today's video I will be sharing a theory I have with you guys regarding my thoughts and feelings on the future of the Monsterverse. This is of course referring to the films released by Warner Brothers and Legendary Pictures. More recently, their most recent film Godzilla, King of the Monsters, one of my favorite films of the year, and talking about possible future films beyond Godzilla vs. Kong, which is coming out next year. But before I get into all the speculation and whatnot, I just want to throw out a fair warning. I will be discussing spoilers from Godzilla King of the Monsters, so if you've not seen that movie and you would like to, do not keep watching or listening to this video, as I will be discussing key scenes and big spoilers from that film, and I will also be touching on some speculation and some theories which may or may not turn out to be true in Godzilla vs. Kong. So, you have been warned. Alright, let's jump right into it now. So, regarding the future of the Monsterverse films, Godzilla King of the Monsters unfortunately did not make the kind of money that Legendary and Warner Brothers were hoping for, but it seems like that has not deterred them from their plans. You know, obviously next March we have Godzilla vs. Kong, which is easily one of my most anticipated movies of all time. Yes, I know I've said that about several other films, but this one seriously takes the cake because I've been looking forward to this one for almost 10 years now, because it was about a year ago, it was about 10 years ago around this time, I saw for the first time the original King Kong vs. Godzilla. As cheesy as it was, I very much enjoyed it, and I've been hoping for a more modern take ever since then, and now it's going to finally happen next year. But beyond Godzilla vs. Kong, we don't know too much about what Toho, Legendary, and Warner Brothers has planned for these characters. We don't know if we're going to get a Godzilla or a King Kong film if presumably one of them, or God forbid, both of them die in Godzilla vs. Kong next year. And if they do, they could always do prequel films that are set before the events of any of the other Monsterverse films, like Godzilla 2014 and Kong Skull Island and Godzilla King of the Monsters. Personally, I would love to see spin-off films centered around either Mothra or Rodan. They don't necessarily have to intersect with one another, but as King of the Monsters pointed out, that these monsters were revered and seen as gods to ancient civilizations. And who wouldn't want to see a story or a movie about Rodan or Mothra being at their prime thousands upon thousands of years ago, protecting a race of people who revered them as gods while fighting off other monsters. You know, just think of the movie Kong Skull Island, which explored Kong's origins and backstory, and just replace Kong with Mothra, Rodan, or any of the other titans that we saw in King of the Monsters, besides Ghidorah and Godzilla, of course. But I would love to see spin-offs centered around Mothra and Rodan, mostly because, spoiler alert, I was really upset that Mothra died in King of the Monsters. However, there's usually two eggs, and as that newspaper headline hinted at in the end credits sequence, that Monarch discovered another massive egg. Hopefully, presumably, it's another Mothra larva. Whether or not Mothra will return in another form in Godzilla vs. Kong next year remains to be seen. However, I do see Rodan returning in Godzilla vs. Kong simply because, you know, he was one of the first monsters to bow and submit to Godzilla after he had defeated Ghidorah, and he had returned to nest in a volcano to resume his peaceful hibernation. And it seems likely that he would now go to Godzilla's aid should Godzilla call upon him in his fight against Kong. Although this, of course, is pure speculation, but point being, Rodan is still alive and could easily appear in a future Monsterverse film. Whether it's a spin-off that's like a prequel that takes place years before any of these other movies occurred, or if it's a movie that takes place after the fact, I'm not sure. I just think there's a lot of awesome potential and possibility here. Back in late April, the CEO of Legendary Pictures himself said, "I hope the gas tank is full," obviously not confirming or denying anything regarding future monster movies, but hope that is a very promising sentiment from the CEO of all people. And it's also worth noting that Toho recently invested in a large production film office in Los Angeles earlier this spring, right before King of the Monsters came out. So whether or not Toho will continue making separate Godzilla movies that have nothing to do with the Monsterverse, or if they'll continue to allow Warner Brothers and Legendary to continue using characters like I've mentioned earlier in the video, Godzilla, Mothra, Rodan, and whomever from Toho, remains to be seen. However, I think there's definitely something in the works, mostly because they were interviewing someone who works at Toho a few weeks ago at Comic-Con. The guy implied that he was hoping to see Mecha Godzilla come back to the big screen someday. There's, of course, rumors and theories online that Mecha Godzilla could be the ultimate anti-Titan weapon that might be used against both Kong and Godzilla in Godzilla vs. Kong next year. Again, just a rumor and a theory, nothing concrete or confirmed there. But obviously, I think they do have something planned. I think they're waiting to see how well Godzilla vs. Kong does, both critically and financially. And depending on how that turns out, maybe we will hopefully get spin-off films centered around both Mothra and Rodan, and maybe several other Titans as well, who appeared briefly but definitely appeared in King of the Monsters when Ghidorah woke them all up, and then when they all bowed to Godzilla at the very end. So those are my thoughts and feelings on the future of the Monsterverse. Personally, I'd love to see a third Godzilla film, providing that Godzilla survives his fight with Kong next year. And if not, a prequel film. You know, the director, Michael Dougherty, had an awesome idea about a prehistoric Godzilla movie where it's set millions of years ago, and Godzilla's walking around during the age of Titans and possibly dinosaurs, and he's just walking around fighting random creatures and whatnot. And you know what? I wouldn't mind seeing a prehistoric film about Godzilla or any of the other creatures that I've covered in this video. So yeah, I still think there's definitely potential and possibility there. I think they're going to wait and see how well Godzilla vs. Kong does, but no matter how that movie turns out, I hope that they still make films from the Monsterverse and they continue to expand on this awesome universe that they've created throughout these first 3 films. So guys, what are your thoughts and opinions regarding the future of the Monsterverse? Should they continue making monster movies after Godzilla vs. Kong, or is that a nice way to wrap up the entire franchise? I want to hear your thoughts and your opinions and feedback down below in the comments section. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to check back to this channel later tonight, as I will be uploading my film review for the horror movie Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which I will be watching in just a few hours. And if I don't see you again, have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and of course, until next time, may the Force be with you.